Hello class, just want to make a video here to help remind you of the things that we learned with our Gordon Rhythm syllables today and our motions, and also to continue on to the meters that we didn't have a chance to experience today. So let's start with duple meter once again, just for review. And remember, every time we have a macro beat, no matter what meter it is, it's going to be do, so that doesn't change. For duple meter, we split the beat into do and day. So and then once we add our divisions, our tas, do to data. So we have do, do day, and do to data for our first three rhythm functions. Let's go ahead and practice each of those together. We'll start this way first. And ready, go. Do, 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 do. Do day, do day, do day, do day. Do to data, do to data, do to data, do to data. Now just audiate those as you move. Now I'll give you some patterns. Go ahead and echo them back as you continue to move in duple meter. Ready and listen. Do, 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 day, do. Do, day, do, day, do, day, do. Do, do, day, do, day, do. Do, 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 day. Now let's add some divisions in. Ready and listen. Do, day, do to data, do, day, do. Do to data, do to data, do, day, do. Do, day, do to data, do, day. Do to data, do, day, do. Good. So that's a few basic duple meter patterns using do's, do days, and do to datas, or to use our rhythm function words, macro beats, micro beats, and divisions. Now try rewinding and going back to the patterns that I just said, but instead of repeating the patterns, use a different one. So for instance, if I say do, day, do, you could say do, day, do. Or if I said do to data, do, day, do to data, do, you could say do, day, do to data, do, day, do. So in other words, make patterns that are like mine instead of the same as mine. And that's how I explain improvisation to students. Instead of echoing, be the same, we make up patterns that are like each other. So they sound like they go together. All right, so just go ahead and go back to the beginning of the patterns, and this time improvise in between instead of echoing in between. Let's move now to triple meter. Remember, we start with macro beats, and that'll always be do, but the micro beats is what changes the feel from duple to triple meter. So we have two new syllables. Instead of do and day, we have do, da, dee. So macro beats are do's, micro beats are do, da, dees. Then if we put the divisions after those, do to, da, to, dita. So we have do, da, dee, and do to, da, to, dita for our 3 beat levels. Go ahead and echo as I say some patterns. We'll start this way first again. Ready and go. Do, 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 do. Do da dee, do da dee, do da dee, do da dee. Do to da to dee to, do to da to dee to, do to da to dee to, do to da to dee to. Get those inside you. Ready, repeat. Do da dee, do da dee, do. Do da dee, do da dee, do da dee, do. Do, do da dee, do da dee. Do da dee, do da dee, do, do. Let's add in some divisions. Ready and listen. Do-da-dee, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta, do-da-dee, do. Do, do, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta, do. Do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta, do-da-dee, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta, do. Do-ta-da-ta-dee, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta, do. Good. Now, go ahead and go back to each of those sets of patterns and do the same thing. Improvise another pattern in place of the one that I said. For instance, if I said do-da-dee-doo, do-da-dee-doo, you could say do-da-dee, do-da-dee-doo, do. So just try and use the rhythm functions that I used in your improvisation as you echo it, or as you answer, not echo this time, answer back to each of the patterns. The next meter that Dr. Gordon distinguishes is what he calls a combined meter. And this is simply where you have some beats that are divided into 2 and some beats that are divided into 3. Now the way I'll demonstrate it here, we're going to go back and forth every other beat. But in most music, it'll just have both at some point in the music. It doesn't go back and forth every single beat like I'm about to demonstrate. But if you can do the switching every single beat, then you can definitely be ready to apply this to whatever kind of music that it would normally be used in. All right, here's combined meter, same exact syllables. Macrobeats are do's, microbeats are either do-day or do-da-dee. It keeps going back and forth between those. And divisions are either do-ta-da-ta or do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta. So let's start with 4 macrobeats, 4 switching back and forth microbeats, 4 switching back and forth division patterns. Ready, go. Do, 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 do. Do-day, do-da-dee, do-day, do-da-dee. Do-ta-da-ta, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta, do-ta-da-ta, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta. Feel that? Think that? Now let's do some echoed patterns once again. Macrobeats and microbeats. Do-day, do-da-dee, do-day, do. Do, do-da-dee, do-day, do. Do-day, do, do-day, do-da-dee. Do-day, do-da-dee, do, do. How'd you do? A little trickier, isn't it? Well, now let's do the same thing, except I'm going to put some division patterns in there as well. Ready, this way first. Ready, listen. Do-day, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta, do-day, do. Do-ta-da-ta, do, do-ta-da-ta, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta. Do-ta-da-ta, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta, do-ta-da-ta, do. Do-day, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta, do-ta-da-ta, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta. Good. How'd you do? Let's try rewinding now to the beginning of the patterns, and instead of echoing back what I said, go ahead and again make up your own patterns that are like mine. If I use macrobeats and microbeats, you use different macrobeats and microbeats. If I put divisions in there, you put some divisions in there as well, and see how you can do. Also, it would be good, especially with this combined meter, since this is a more awkward feel to it for most people. They're not as used to doing this movement or musically switching back and forth every single macro beat like that. It'd be good to just practice moving that way and just saying a string of patterns until you're comfortable with the syllables and the motions and getting all that together. So for each of these, after you finish the back and forth with me, just try a bunch on your own until you're comfortable improvising with those. And that will be something that we'll do in class in the next few classes. All right, one more here today. Well, one more that we'll practice and another that I'll demonstrate. The last one is very rare, mostly used in 20th century music, occasionally used in 20th century music, a little bit also in a few examples of music from different cultures, especially Greece and some of the Mid-Eastern European type countries there. But for now, let's go on to what Dr. Gordon calls unusual, but what I call uneven meters. I actually talked with him about this. He liked the fact that I called them uneven because that's kind of how they feel, the kids. It would be our asymmetric meters from traditional music theory terms. But with using the term unusual is kind of a Western-centric way of thinking about it. Other cultures, these are the normal meters, and the ones we use are unusual. So uneven is the term I've settled with here, and that's the one we'll use in this course as well. But if you read any of Dr. Gordon's literature, you'd see the term unusual in this same place. So uneven simply is talking about the macrobeats. The macrobeats are shorter and longer than each other, so it almost feels like you're moving with a limp. What's even? The microbeats in this case. And to distinguish between combined and uneven, Dr. Gordon uses a new consonant. Instead of do-day or do-da-dee, he goes to do-bay or do-ba-bee. So he substitutes a B for the D here anytime that we're going to this uneven feel. So let's practice first just saying a string of the uneven syllables. So let's do an uneven meter that has a recurring 2 macrobeat pattern, one that's a do-bay and one that's a do-ba-bee. So let's just practice saying that over and over. Ready, go. Do-bay, do-ba-bee, do-bay, do-ba-bee, do-bay, do-ba-bee, do-bay, do-ba-bee. This would traditionally be written in a 5/8 time signature, but just to tie it into what you know in written notation. But let's go ahead and see if we can move with those syllables now. So we'll actually start with our hands instead of our stepping back and forth. Ready, go. Do-bay, do-ba-bee, do-bay, do-ba-bee, do-bay, do-ba-bee, do-bay, do-ba-bee. Get that inside of you. Now, let's see if we can step back and forth on the do's. Ready, go. Do, 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 do. Actually, do-bay, do-ba-bee, do-bay, do-ba-bee. Now we'll go to just the do's and audiate the microbeats. Do, 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 do. Think that? Good. Yeah. So again, we'll have a longer beat on one side, a little bit shorter beat on the other. Kind of a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 is the way we're doing this. We could do it the other way around. Do-ba-bee, do-bay, do-ba-bee, do-bay. Both of those would be what Dr. Gordon calls paired uneven meters, where you have a pair, just like it sounds, that goes together. It's a kind of a 2-part meter. You can also have unpaired meters, for instance 7/8, where you have a couple, let's see, 7/8, do-ba-bee, do-bay, do-bay. Or you could go do-bay, do-ba-bee, do-bay. Or you could go do-bay, do-bay, do-ba-bee. But the repeating pattern, it isn't equal each time. It has 3 parts instead of 2. So he calls those unpaired. Let's go back and just stay simple for right now. Let's go do-bay, do-ba-bee, but let's do microbeats for 4, and then macrobeats for 4, and then we'll play around with divisions. Ready, go. Do-be, do-ba-be, do-be, do-ba-be, do-be, do-ba-be. Get that inside. Now the do's. Do, 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 do. Think it. Good. Now let's stop and figure out the syllables for divisions. So do-be turns into do-to-beta. Let's try that. Do-to-beta, do-to-beta, do-to-beta. So it's just like do-to-data with a be in there. Do-to-beta, do-to-beta. And then do-to-bata-beta instead of do-to-data-dita. Do-to-bata-beta, 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 do-to-bata-beta. Now, do-to-beta, do-to-bata-beta. Ready, go. Do-to-beta, do-to-bata-beta, do-to-beta, do-to-bata-beta, do-to-beta, do-to-bata-beta, do-to-beta, do-to-bata-beta. All right, let's try moving to all 3 beat levels. We'll start with microbeats, then go to macrobeats, because microbeats are the easiest with uneven meters. They're the simplest. Then to macrobeats, then to divisions. Ba, 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 ba. Ready, go. Do-be, do-ba-be, do-be, do-ba-be, do, 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 do. Do-to-beta, do-to-bata-beta, do-to-beta, do-to-bata-beta. How'd you do? Let's try all 3 once again. Do-be, do-ba-be, do-be, do-ba. Macrobeat, do, do, do. Divisions. Do-to-beta, do-to-bata-beta, do-to-beta, do-to-bata-beta. All right, so that's a mouthful, and we're not quite as used to moving that way. That's a little more tricky for most people. So let's just spend some time here echoing macrobeat and microbeat patterns. And then we'll play around, for those of you who are a little more used to this system, we'll play around with some division patterns. That might be a little bit of a tongue twister for some still at this point, but keep working on it. All right, here we go. That way first. Ready, go. Do-be, do-ba-be, do-be, do. Do-be, do-ba-be, do, do. Do, do-ba-be, do, do. Do-be, do-ba-be, do, do-ba-be. All right, here we go. Divisions. Do-to-beta, do-to-bata-beta, do-to-beta, do. Do-to-beta, do-ba-be, do-to-beta, do. Do-be, do-to-bata-beta, do-to-beta, do. Do-to-beta, do-to-bata-beta, do, do-to-bata-beta. You notice when we put the fast syllables on beat 4 of each pattern, that makes it a little more difficult, doesn't it? But you all are college music majors, you're up for the challenge, right? Okay, now go ahead and review, rewind to the patterns that we just echoed back and forth, and see what you can do with improvising. Again, just change something, maybe change one of the beats. You can start it like mine, but end it a little bit different. Or start it different, but end it the same if you need to. This one's a little bit more tricky to improvise with because it's a little bit more tricky for us to audiate. Now, there's one more type of meter that Dr. Gordon distinguishes, and that's similar to uneven meter, uses the same syllables as uneven meter, but the difference is one of the microbeats in the repeating pattern is always emphasized or accented, and it's moved to as if it were a macrobeat. This is tied again to ethnic dance, and if you think of composers like Bernstein, some around that era, some 20th century music would use this too until today. So intact meter, using that same pattern we just did, do, be, do, ba, be, we're going to change the last microbeat, the B, to a do. And the do is only going to last as long as a microbeat, so it's going to look like this. Do, be, do, be, do, do, be, do, be, do. And this is what he calls intact meter. There's one microbeat that gets the weight and emphasis of a macrobeat in the middle of each pattern. And so we won't do much with this other than just theoretically learn about it, but let's just try moving to it so we at least kind of get the feel of it. So again, start with microbeats. It'll be do, be, do, be, do, do, be, do, be, do. So let's start with just our hands, and we'll try moving back and forth with our feet. Ready, here we go. Do, be, do, be, do, do, be, do, be, do, do, be, do, be, do. Ready with our feet. Do, be, do, be, do, do, be, do, be, do, do, be, do, be, do, do, be, do, be, do. And that's all we're going to do with that one. I'll have you identify it on a couple tests, but we won't really improvise with it or do much with it because it's very rare in music. I want to spend our time on the more common ones: duple, triple, combined, and various types of uneven meters. That's all. Go ahead and use these videos as you need to practice, and once you can get away with them and go on your own, look up the sheet called Meters and Rhythm Functions. So far, I've only demonstrated 3 rhythm functions: macrobeats, microbeats, and divisions. There are 8 total that Dr. Gordon specifies in order from easiest to audiate to most difficult to audiate. They are macrobeats, microbeats, divisions, what he calls elongations, which is notes that last longer than one of the beat levels. These would be our 2 or 3 or 4 macrobeat long notes. It would also be some of our dotted rhythms that are kind of last in between the beat levels. Something that would be written like dotted quarter and eighth note would be an example of an elongation, or dotted 16th, or dotted eighth, 16th. And there are other kinds of tied rhythms as well that would make elongations. Basically, elongations just last longer than one of the beat levels. So often they're combined with divisions or combined with microbeats into a pattern. That's the 4th level. The 5th level is rests. We all know what rests are. Nothing tricky about that one. Just silence for some length of time. And it can be rests of any of the other beat levels. Then number 6 is syncopation. Syncopation is where we're emphasizing between the macrobeats or between the microbeats. So it'd be this type of thing. Do, day, day, do, or do, ta, do, day, do, ta, do. In duple meter, that'd be a couple examples of syncopation. In triple meter, do, ta, do, ta, do, da, dee, do, or do, day, do, da, do, dee, do. Some of those types of patterns. And then what Dr. Gordon calls tie patterns are when you have a longer value in the middle that kind of connects the middle 2 beats of a pattern. So something like this: do, day, day, do, or do to data, do. So there's something that kind of connects the first half of the pattern with the second half of the pattern. That's when it's in the middle like that, it makes it harder to audiate. It's not necessarily written ties, it's just tying 2 patterns together is what it's talking about. And then pickup patterns, which is just what we know them as, something before the first macrobeat. Day, do, day, do to day to do, or to do, da, dee, do to da, to dee, to do, da, dee, do, or dee to do, day, do to day to, day to do, day, do to day to do, day, or we triple to dee to do, to dee to do, to dee to do, da dee do. So we'll do a lot more with all of those gradually throughout the course. Learn to read them, learn to improvise with them. If the macrobeats, microbeats, and divisions for each of the 4 meters, duple, triple, combined, uneven, are easy for you, go ahead and go on to some of the more difficult difficult to audiate rhythm functions. These are all listed for you on the meters and rhythm functions sheet, as well as a definition for each of the meters and rhythm functions and an explanation of like the fonts and the italics and all those type of things. I'm bold, italics, capital letters, all those things that I've written, and how that corresponds to how the syllables are audiated when I write these out. I've also given you an example of each function for each meter, and this is one rhythm pattern that demonstrates each meter. So you can think of those as a measure. And some of them would be 2 macro beats long, some of them are 4 because we need the ties, you have to combine 2. And so you can work your way through those different patterns and see if you can kind of say those from top to bottom steady without stopping. So I'll just demonstrate those for you. Let me get the sheet over here now. Here's duple meter. So always when you're practicing these for now, do the motions. So we'll get our duple meter going. And I like to say each pattern twice just to kind of make a phrase out of it. All right, so here we go. Macro beats down to pickup patterns. This is how it would sound. Ready, go. Do, 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 do. Now the micro beats. Do, day, do, day, do, day, do, day. Now the division. Do, to, day, to, do. Do, to, day, to, do. Elongation. Do, do. Rest. Do, day, day, do, day, day. Syncopation. Do, ta, to, do, day, do, ta, to, do, day. Tie. Do, day, day, do. Do, day, day, do. And pick up. Day, do, day, do. So said one right after the other, repeating each box or each measure if you want to think of it that way. Here's how it would go. Do, 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 do. Do, day, do, day. Do, day, do, day. Do, to, day, to, do. Do, to, day, to, do. Do, do. Do, day, day. Do, day, day. Do, ta, to, do, day. Do, ta, to, do, day. Do, day, day, do. Do, day, day, do. Day, do, day, do. So after you practice each of those individually, see if you can say them straight with me, right down as you're reading the syllables off of the meters and rhythm function sheet. So that was duple meter, all 8 rhythm functions, all 8 rhythm functions. All right, now let's do the same thing for triple meter. Instead of stopping and saying each of the, I think I'll do it that same way. I'll do it one time through where I say each of the functions, then I'll perform them one time straight, just the way that I'd like you to be able to do those. All right, so here's triple meter. Let's get our motion going. Here's the macro beat pattern. Do, 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 do. Micro beat pattern. Do-da-dee, 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 do-da-dee. Sounds familiar, right? Here's the division pattern. Do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta-do, do-ta-da-ta-dee-ta-do. Now the elongation. Do, do. Now notice how I'm kind of being expressive and phrasing with my voice with the pitch. That's always good to do too, so it's just not monotone, especially when you're repeating with students. It makes it more interesting to listen to, and it gets them ready for phrasing and measures and things like that. All right, here's the rest pattern. Do-da-dee, da-dee, do-da-dee, da-dee. The tie pattern. Do-da-dee, da-dee, do. Do-da-dee, da-dee, do. And the pickup pattern. Dee-do-da-dee, do. Dee-do-da-dee, do. Now straight through, twice on each pattern for triple meter. Ready and go. Do, 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 do. Do-da-dee, 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 do, do, do-da-dee. do da dee da dee, do ta 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 do da dee, do ta 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 do da dee, do da dee da dee do da dee do, dee do da dee do da dee do. All right, that's triple. Here's the combined pattern. Combined rhythms. Macrobeat. Do, 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 do. Microbeat. Do, day, do, da, dee, do, day, do, da, dee. Division. Do, ta, day, ta, do, ta, da, ta, dee, ta, do, ta, day, ta, do, ta, da, ta, dee, ta. Elongation. Do, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. Elongation. Do, rest. Do, day, da, dee, do, day, da, dee. Tie. Oh, I'm sorry, syncopation. Do, ta, ta, do, da, dee, do, ta, ta, do, da, dee. And now tie. Do, da, dee, day, do, da, dee, day, do. Pick up. Dee, do, day, do, dee, I'm sorry. Dee, do, day, do, da, dee, do, day, do, da. All right, that's duple, triple, and combined. Let's move to uneven. Macrobeats. Do, microbeats. Do, bay, do, bobby. Do, bay, do, bobby. Divisions. Do, ta, beta, do, ta, bata, beta. Do, ta, beta, do, ta, bata, beta. Elongation. Do, rest. Do, bay, bobby. Do, bay, bobby. Syncopation. Do, ta, ta, do, bobby. Do, ta, ta, do, bobby. Tie. Do, bay, do, bobby. Bay, do. Do, bay, do, bobby. Bay, do. Pick up. Be, do, bay, do. Be, do, bay, do. Now all together, twice on each pattern. Do, bay, do, bobby, do, bay, do, bobby, do, ta, beta, do, ta, bata, beta, do, ta, beta, do, ta, bata, beta, do, bay, bobby, do, bay, bobby, do, ta, ta, do, bobby, do, ta, ta, do, bobby, do, bay, do, bobby, bay, do, bay, do, bobby, bay, do, be, do, bay, do, be, do, bay, do. And as I said before, we won't worry about intact. We'll spend our time on the others for this course. That is the meter and rhythm functions sheet. So keep working until you can do what I just did and say straight through all the patterns here on this sheet, and even improvise using different types of rhythm functions for each of the first 4 meters: duple, triple, combined, and uneven.